Hey everybody, how you guys doing? Elusive One here. Besides hair or footprints or scat, what other ways can we get proof of evidence of our forest friends? I mean, hair and scat is good for DNA, but there is another way, an easier way, I think, that we overlook, and that is fingerprints. All primates and people have fingerprints and leave them on whatever we touch. I would like to urge researchers and habituators to leave smooth, non-porous surface items in areas where they are where Bigfoot are, in hopes of them touching it, and starting a collection of possible Sasquatch finger and handprints. To do this, you'll need to wash whatever item you decide to use with soap and water. I suggest Dawn dish soap because of how it cuts the oils and grease of stuff off of stuff. I also suggest rubber gloves, like in a doctor's office. Whatever will keep your prints off the item you use. If you think they have touched what you left out for them, please document it with pictures, or even better yet, HD video. I have a fingerprint kit and would be more than happy to dust whatever you think they have touched and you have left out for them. I have dusted before, and I have sent them to Mr.Chilcutt. We are one of the few research organizations that Mr. Chilcutt has agreed to work with. Um, and from me sending him fingerprints, alleged fingerprints of Sasquatch before, he agrees to continue to work with us. For the most part, he is retired from what he does and doesn't do Bigfoot research. But I guess we're lucky that he has, agreed to work with us in hopes of obtaining and documenting the species. He knows that they're real by the dermal ridges that he's found on footprints, um, which is great. But there are very, very few footprints out there that have dermal ridges. A lot of it has to do with the substrate, the ground. Not all the time the ground is going to have perfect conditions to leave dermal ridging. Now, if you think about leaving something out in the woods where they're at, or where you know they're at, or you think that they're at, in hopes of them touching it, let me suggest, those rubber balls that you can find at Walmart or whatever, uh, mirrors so they can see themselves, a glass plate or a plastic plate. Um, those would be ideal, I would say, in collecting fingerprints or even handprints for that matter. Just be sure to wash them off, and after you do wash them off, put on the rubber gloves, or even during while you're washing them off. Use the rubber gloves while you're doing so, so you don't have your fingerprints on whatever you do decide to use to leave out in the woods, and that way we can have their fingerprints on it instead of yours. Even better yet, you record yourself washing them and putting them out in the woods where they're at, um, so you have documentation that you did not touch whatever item you decided to use to put out in the woods for them. Now, there's going to be a lot of questions arise as far as how can we tell that they're a Bigfoot or a Sasquatch handprint or fingerprint. Well, let me say this: the ones that I have taken and sent to Mr. Chilcutt have came back non-human. Um, I should say non-human primate, um, which rules out the possibility of a human, but it also doesn't give us an exact answer to what it is. Now, as far as primate fingerprints go, they're just like human fingerprints, but not in the pattern of human fingerprints. Does that make sense? Now, if you look at your fingers, you'll see like a lot of swirls and loops. Um, from my understanding, when it comes to primate fingerprints, is that they're more vertical and they have a different ridge pattern compared to humans. Um, so, with that being said, and that's with just known primates. Now, when would it come to a Sasquatch or Bigfoot fingerprints, I would assume or think that their fingerprints would be larger, or their dermal ridges, I should say, would be larger than humans um, to a certain percent, and also to the great apes to a certain percent as well. Seeing that they're so big, that would only make sense, right? Do I know what to look for when I'm fingerprinting? Yeah, I do. Do I know what not to look for when I'm fingerprinting? I do as well. I fingerprinted my kids. I fingerprinted myself, and like I said, us humans we have a lot of swirls and loops. But as far as when it comes down to Sasquatch and things like that, they have more verticalism lines um, as for their dermal ridges, from what I'm told. Um, so again, I like to offer my services out there um, for dusting and fingerprinting. I have kits. I use gloves, so if you do send me something, I will put my gloves on so my fingerprints doesn't do not get on the item that you selected to leave out in the woods for them to touch. Um, and I can submit those to Jimmy Chilcutt, and he will give me a little write-up report as far as what he thinks about them. He says I do a pretty good job at dusting and lifting the prints for not being an expert. And again, I'd like to extend my amateur services to the Bigfoot community in hopes that we can start and get further evidence or proof besides DNA or hair or scat or saliva, um, so we can get further proof in hopes of protecting them. Um, that's pretty much what a lot of people want to do is protect them so they don't get shot again, so they won't get shot again. But then again, we are human, and people are out there poaching deer and bear. Hopefully, we can get stiffer laws for all those animals and Sasquatch and Bigfoot alike, our forest friends. See what else was there I wanted to say. So again, if you do leave something out in the woods, try your best not to touch it with your own fingerprints. If you do think you have something on whatever you left out in the woods for them to touch, uh, document it with pictures and better yet, even high definition video. I'd be more than happy to dust them for you and to lift the prints if and send them out to Jimmy Chilcutt as well. So let's do it. This should be an easier method. Um, they are curious, and hopefully the curiosity will get the best of them. They'll see that a ball or a plate or a mirror is not going to harm them. Hopefully they'll get interest in that, pick it up, maybe smell it, and while they're picking it up, then bada bing, right there you got prints. Um, it's non-evasive, meaning that we're not out there for a long period of time. If they know you by a certain sound that you make or a certain, if you make certain knocks, I suggest that you leave the item there, make your knock and your call to let them know that you were there, and hopefully they'll come to the area where you're at and see what you left them. And then again, hopefully the curiosity will bring them in. I mean, they are curious. We know that they're curious. They're looking at windows at us, and they watch us. They watch us while we're out in the woods. They watch us while we're on a bonfire or campfire. So we know that the curiosity factor is there. Hopefully, we can pique it even more by leaving them something that they could see that's non-harmful to them. Excuse me, and touch it. So we can start building a collection of alleged Sasquatch fingerprints or handprints in hopes of getting protection to them. Consider this as another, I guess, method to research that's non-invasive. We're not out there for hours, um, and it's safe for them. I mean, a ball is not going to hurt them. Um, a plastic plate or anything like that should be kind of intriguing. I mean, especially if you want to leave food on that plate, chicken or break up chicken breast, something oily and greasy that could also help. Excuse me, maintain a print. I had a bad cough all this week. Sure, the smoking is not helping though. But on the serious side, um, let's see how far this could get us. Like I said, this should be more easier than going out and finding a footprint. If they are in your area, if you know that they're in the area, leave them something to touch, to interact with. Like I said, all people and primates have dermal ridges, and they will be on whatever we touch or whatever person or primate or Sasquatch touches as well. All right, well, I hope I piqued your guys' interest in starting something like this. Again, I'll lend I'm more than happy to do it with my amateur services. I do have latent fingerprint and dusting kits. Be more than happy to dust whatever you think that they did touch, um, and send them off to Mr. Chilcutt. With that being said, I'm going to say, let's do it. Let's get her done. God bless and squatch on.